Imagine for a second that you are about to undergo open heart surgery.
Okay.
You're all prepped, the lights are bright in the operating room, and the hospital administrator walks in to reassure you about your surgeon.
Right. Always a good sign.
Yep, right. And they tell you, hey, good news, your doctor is actually a world champion trivia master.
Wow. Okay.
This person has literally read every single medical textbook ever published. They can recite the entire history of cardiovascular medicine in like 3 languages.
I mean, that sounds impressive on paper.
But then they add, oh, by the way, they've never actually held a scalpel. They've never stepped foot inside a real operating room or, felt a patient's pulse.
Yeah, I'm ripping out my IV and running for the exit. I would be in the parking lot before they even finish the sentence.
Exactly, you'd be out of there.
Because when the stakes are literally life and death, broad theoretical knowledge it doesn't cut it. You want someone whose entire existence, every waking hour of their professional life, is focused on that one specific, highly complex, high-stakes task.
Yes.
You absolutely do not want a generalist when a single mistake is catastrophic.
And that fundamental tension, that difference between knowing a little bit about everything on Earth versus knowing absolutely everything about one highly specific thing, that's the foundation of our deep dive today.
It really is.
Welcome. Our mission right now is to explore a question that is totally dividing the tech world, which is, can a highly specialized, custom-built AI actually beat the famous multi-billion-dollar general-purpose AIs that kind of dominate our lives right now?
It's basically the ultimate David versus Goliath narrative in artificial intelligence today. And, we actually have a really detailed case study to anchor this whole conversation.
You do. Our source material today is a remarkably dense press release from EON Reality, and this is dated August 16, 2026.
Right.
The core subject here is a major strategic announcement. EON is laying out their comprehensive blueprint to build something they're calling EON
Delta.
Yeah.
EON Delta, yeah.
And they define it as a proprietary frontier AI model, but one that is exclusively engineered for the oil and gas industry.
Which is a massive pivot from what we're used to seeing.
Totally. And their stated goal is not subtle at all. They are aiming to definitively outperform the massive general-purpose models. So think OpenAI, think Claude on a rigorously controlled, really complex oil and gas examination.
Which, that is a monumental technical mountain to climb.
Oh, yeah.
Because those general-purpose systems have billions of dollars in compute power behind them. They've essentially ingested the entire digitized human experience.
Right, they've read the whole internet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So claiming you can build a niche system that beats them at complex cognitive reasoning, that requires a completely different architectural approach.
Which is why this is so critical for you listening right now. Whether you're an executive trying to figure out your enterprise AI strategy, or maybe an intellectual property lawyer dealing with data rights, or just someone fascinated by where this tech is going next.
Yeah.
We are going to dissect the exact blueprint of how a next-generation specialist AI is constructed.
Yeah.
We're looking at the playbook for how to dethrone the generalists in high-stakes environments.
And to really grasp what EON Delta represents, I think we have to start with the foundational philosophy.
Right.
Like, why does EON believe a specialized model is even necessary? Those massive general models already write functional code. They pass the bar exam. They, synthesize medical research. Why spend the capital to build something from scratch just for oil rigs and refineries?
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because I think the easiest way to visualize the difference is to look at the limitations of those big models.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Systems like Claude or, the latest iterations from OpenAI, they are essentially the ultimate Jeopardy champions.
Right.
If you ask them a question about 18th century French literature, they totally nail it. If you ask them for a recipe for sourdough bread, they give you 5 different options.
Oh, yeah, they know it all.
But EON Delta isn't trying to win a game show. EON Delta aims to be the veteran master mechanic on a deep-water rig who has seen exactly what happens when a highly specific pressure valve begins to, vibrate at a weird frequency in sub-zero temperatures.
Exactly.
If you ask a general AI how to fix a frozen pressure valve, it might hallucinate a textbook answer from a 1990 manual.
Which, in reality, would probably blow the rigs sky high.
Right. The generalist knows the dictionary definition of the valve, but the master mechanic knows its soul, its quirks, and the actual physics of how it breaks.
And, EON actually uses a very similar, very pointed analogy in the source material to drive this home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they talk about rocket engineering. They argue that a private space company armed with decades of proprietary classified rocket engineering data can train a rocket specialist AI that the broad public models simply can never replicate.
Because they just don't have the data.
Exactly. The general models do not have access to the secret sauce of telemetry and stress tests. And EON is adopting that exact paradigm for the energy sector. Their operating philosophy is basically that the best specialist learns exclusively from the best, most specialized evidence.
And there's a crucial technical detail in the release about how they're structuring this. EON Delta is being designed as an open-weight specialist model.
Yeah, and that is a very deliberate choice for this industry.
Why is that?
Well, by making it open weight, the underlying mathematical architecture, the neural networks, weights, and parameters, they aren't completely locked away in a black box.
Which you would absolutely demand if you're an oil and gas executive.
Oh, 100%.
You aren't going to hand over the safety protocols of a multi-billion-dollar refinery to an algorithm where the creators just say, hey, just trust us, it works.
Right, you need to audit the math.
You have to. But that transparency creates an interesting competitive dynamic, doesn't it?
It does. Because if the underlying math is somewhat open and auditable, then the math itself isn't EON's protective moat. The true differentiator, the thing that actually makes Delta smarter than a generalist, is the highly specific diet of data it consumes.
And I have to challenge the fundamental premise of their data strategy here.
Okay, go for it.
Because OpenAI and Anthropic got incredibly smart because they scraped the open internet.
Right. Wikipedia, Reddit, all of it.
Yeah. Digitized libraries, public forums. That approach scales infinitely. But you cannot send a web crawler into an offshore drilling rig.
No, definitely not.
That operational data is locked in secure corporate vaults, completely disconnected from the public web. So if EON Delta isn't eating the internet, what exactly is it eating?
That is the multi-billion-dollar bottleneck right there. Since they can't rely on web scraping, EON has engineered this highly structured, three-tiered data strategy. They call it their data flywheel.
Okay, flywheel.
Yeah, it's designed to build momentum systematically, layer by layer, starting with what is actually legally accessible.
So where does the momentum actually start? What's layer one?
The foundation relies on what they call public evidence.
Public evidence.
Yeah, because while the day-to-day operations of a rig are secret, disasters are very public.
Oh, that makes sense.
EON gathers lawful public accident reports, regulatory investigations, and official incident lessons. When a catastrophic failure happens in the energy sector, government bodies publish these exhaustive forensic autopsies.
Wow.
And that forms Delta's baseline understanding of the physics of failure in the real world.
I see. So it reads the National Transportation Safety Board equivalents for the energy sector.
Exactly.
It learns the worst-case scenarios first. But reading autopsy reports doesn't make you a daily practitioner. How do they move past the public domain?
Then they move inward to what they label EON-generated intelligence.
Okay.
This is where they leverage their existing footprint in the industry. The press release lists inputs like approved training outcomes, Genesis simulations, what they refer to as TACiT knowledge, and structured practice data.
Whoa, hold on. I need to stop you there.
Yeah.
TACiT knowledge. Genesis simulations.
Yeah.
You are dropping some heavy corporate acronyms on me right now.
Fair point, fair point. Let's demystify that.
Please do. What do those actually look like in practice?
So EON Reality already builds highly immersive training and simulation software for industrial workers.
Okay.
Imagine incredibly realistic, physics-based virtual reality environments that is essentially what Genesis simulations are.
Ah, got it. VR training.
Right. They run thousands of simulated disaster scenarios for human workers to practice on. And TACiT refers to the systems that capture the nuanced, unwritten knowledge of experienced workers during these training exercises.
So they're tracking how the humans react.
Exactly. EON is taking all the telemetry, the reaction times, the decision trees generated by humans inside these simulators, and they're feeding that data to the AI.
So they are feeding the AI thousands of hours of simulated flight recorder data, but for oil rig emergencies.
That's a great way to put it.
That makes total sense. So you have real-world public disasters plus endless simulated scenarios, but I'm still waiting for the actual rig data.
I know.
Because neither of those are boots on the ground, Tuesday afternoon, routine operational data.
And that is the third tier, which is really the absolute crown jewel of this whole project. They refer to it as proprietary field evidence.
Okay, there it is.
Because EON has deep pre-existing vendor relationships with the world's largest energy companies, they have a mechanism to access this. Through platforms like the Field IQ, they capture actual customer work data.
But capturing it's one thing. Legally using it to train an AI is a completely different universe. I mean, lawyers must be sweating.
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is how heavily the source material emphasizes that this is a rights-cleared learning record.
Oh, rights cleared.
Everything relies on explicit customer agreements and permissions. They are recording the granular realities of the job. You know, what a roustabout actually did at 2 a.m., what they noticed, the subtle mechanical fixes that worked, the ones that failed, and the direct consequences of those actions.
You know, if you are an IP lawyer or an enterprise executive listening to this, this is the crux of the entire specialist AI movement.
It really is.
The generalists like Claude, ChatGPT,
Yeah.
they will never have legal access to the private, day-to-day operational successes and failures of a massive oil conglomerate.
Never. That data sits behind ironclad firewalls.
Right. So EON's strategy isn't just about building software. It's about building complex legal and permission bridges to bring that proprietary data into their specific model.
And it creates a durable advantage. The model basically becomes a repository of the industry's collective proprietary operational experience.
But let's look at the reality of that data for a second.
Yeah.
Raw proprietary field data sounds great in a boardroom, but it is incredibly chaotic.
Oh, it's a mess.
A rig failure isn't a neat grammar-checked paragraph on Wikipedia. It's 30 different alarms going off simultaneously, massive fluctuations in pipe pressure, human panic, overlapping maintenance logs, and, mechanical fatigue.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
If you just dump 10 terabytes of raw, unstructured alarm data into a neural network, the AI isn't going to learn causality. It's just going to spit out noise. How does EON Delta actually understand what it's looking at?
Well, you've just identified the exact reason most enterprise AI projects fail.
Really?
Yeah, the assumption is always that more data equals more intelligence. But in reality, unstructured complex data just creates confused models.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. And EON knows this, which is why they detail two very specific architectural components designed to translate messy reality into machine-readable lessons. The first is called the EON Incident Atlas.
The Incident Atlas. The name implies a map of some sort. How does it actually process the chaos?
So EON describes it as a visual teaching map. Its entire function is to take those chaotic, multivariable accidents and translate them into what they call checkable stories.
Checkable stories?
Yeah, it does not feed the AI a wall of text. Instead, it meticulously maps out the incident using event graphs.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
When you say event graphs, we need to explain the mechanics of that. Because large language models, at their core, just predict the next word in a sentence based on statistical probability.
Right, they're just guessing the next word.
They don't inherently understand physics. So how does an event graph change that?
Think of an event graph as a mathematical web of causality. Instead of reading a sentence that says, the valve broke and the rig caught fire, the atlas creates nodes and edges.
Nodes and edges, okay.
Node A is a 20% drop in ambient temperature. That mathematically links to node B, which is the contraction of a specific steel alloy.
Oh, I see.
And that links to node C, the failure of the pressure seal. It isolates the specific questions, draws mechanical comparisons, identifies the exact safety barriers that failed, and accounts for uncertainty. It provides evidence receipts for every single link in the chain.
Oh, wow. So it's turning a messy car crash into a step-by-step physics equation.
Exactly.
The AI isn't just learning word associations. It is being forced to learn the precise causal anatomy of a disaster. It learns why the pipe burst, not just that pipes often burst near fires.
And causality is the holy grail for industrial AI. Without it, the model is totally useless for troubleshooting.
Right.
The Incident Atlas builds that causal structure perfectly. But, as you mentioned earlier, we are dealing with highly sensitive proprietary corporate data. Company A is not going to let you use their proprietary event graphs if there is even a fraction of a chance that Company B might see them.
Absolutely not, which requires an incredibly strict gatekeeper.
Yes.
So if the Incident Atlas is structuring the lessons, what is protecting the perimeter?
That brings us to the second tool, the EON Distillery. The press release refers to it as the school, the registry, the switchboard, and the safety gate.
Let me offer an analogy here because I think it helps.
Go for it.
In the pharmaceutical industry, when you are manufacturing highly volatile proprietary chemical compounds, you don't just mix them in an open room.
No, that would be a disaster.
You use a clean room. You have
Yep.
physical airlocks, HEPA filters, positive pressure environments to ensure zero cross-contamination.
The distillery sounds like a digital clean room for corporate data.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. The distillery is the governance architecture. It dictates exactly what evidence, which data sets, and which specific release packages are permitted to move forward to the AI.
Wow, okay.
It acts as the digital airlock. It ensures that the proprietary sealed data from one energy client is strictly siloed and processed according to their specific legal permissions, completely preventing any bleed over into another company's IP.
That makes sense.
EON Delta only trains on material that has passed through the distillery's rigorous clearing process. So the system is incredibly robust. You have the raw data flywheel, you have the incident atlas mapping the physics, and the distillery acting as the clean room airlock.
Right.
But I have to throw a massive flag on the play here regarding how they intend to prove this works.
Okay, what's the flag?
We see this constantly in Silicon Valley.
Yep.
A tech company releases a beautifully formatted white paper claiming their new AI is the smartest in the world.
Oh, all the time.
But when you look under the hood, they graded their own homework. They wrote the benchmark test, they trained their AI on the answers, and, shocker, it scored a 99%.
Imagine that.
Right. If EON's entire pitch is that Delta will dethrone Claude and OpenAI on an oil and gas exam, how are they avoiding the trap of self-validation?
Well, the problem you're describing is known as benchmark contamination, and it absolutely plagues the AI industry. If your model accidentally ingested the test questions during its training phase, your results are a mirage.
Completely fake.
EON attacks this vulnerability head-on by establishing an independent evidence authority.
An authority completely outside of EON's corporate structure.
Yes. A separate examiner whose sole mandate is to lock the benchmark. They design and secure the exam, testing Delta on complex scenarios the model has never encountered. EON does not possess the final exam.
Man, that is a staggering level of confidence to hand over the validation of your flagship product to a third party.
It really is.
How do they functionally train the AI without accidentally contaminating it or ruining the test?
They published a rigid 5-step methodology that acts as a chain of custody for the AI's development. It starts with preparation. Steps 1 and 2 involve collecting the lawful accent evidence and rigorously recording its provenance, and then structuring it into those causal, checkable stories.
So gathering the raw materials and building the event graphs.
Exactly. Then, in step 3, they deploy the tools we just discussed. The incident atlas visualizes the lesson, and the distillery governs the flow.
Okay, makes sense so far.
But step 4 is where they solve the contamination issue. This is the training phase. EON explicitly states that the environment where Delta is trained or adapted is strictly, physically, and digitally separated from the hidden examination.
Wow, an absolute firewall between the development servers and the testing center.
It has to be. If we connect this to the bigger picture, back to your cleanroom analogy, you cannot have the testing labs sharing the same ventilation as the manufacturing floor.
Nope, you really can't.
By maintaining this strict isolation, EON ensures that Delta is genuinely learning the underlying principles of fluid dynamics, mechanical fatigue, and operational safety, rather than just memorizing a specific data set to pass a test.
And what happens when the model finally takes the test?
That is step 5. They execute a direct comparison. EON Delta goes up against the strong general-purpose models on the locked exam. But here is the critical mechanism for improvement. If Delta fails a scenario, EON commits to learning from that failure without weakening the exam's integrity.
Wait, how does a software engineer fix a bug if they aren't allowed to see the question the AI got wrong?
They don't look at the test. The independent authority tells them the category of the failure, say, deep water pressure regulation.
Oh, just the category.
Right. EON then has to go back into their own training data, use the incident atlas to figure out where their causal mapping was deficient, retrain the model on better physics, and then try again. They have to fix the foundation, not just patch the specific answer.
All right, this paints a picture of a flawless, hyper-specialized future, a master mechanic AI governed by clean rooms and independent auditors.
It's ambitious.
Very. Well, let's strip away the PR for a second and demand the reality check. We are reading a document from August 16th, 2026. What is actually real today? If I am an enterprise client, what can I touch and see right now versus what is just a roadmap?
That is a necessary skepticism, and surprisingly, EON actually leans into it. They include a section in the release explicitly titled Honest Status.
Honest status, huh?
Yeah, they lay out exactly what exists and what is still theoretical. Right now, only the infrastructure exists, the transparent school and the visual teaching map.
Meaning the distillery and the incident atlas software.
Yes. They have released sanitized public demonstrations of both platforms, but they are brutally honest about the limitations of these demos.
What's missing?
If you log in today, you will find absolutely zero customer data. There are no live EON Delta neural network weights, so the AI brain is absent. And most importantly, there are no connections to any operating production equipment.
So you cannot use the demo to toggle a safety valve in the Gulf of Mexico.
You cannot. What the demos actually prove is the architecture. They show the user journey. They allow you to see what an event graph looks like, how the governance boundaries of the distillery function, and how the visual interface operates.
Got it.
You are essentially touring a state-of-the-art high-security laboratory before the scientists and the proprietary chemicals have arrived.
They are proving they can build the titanium plumbing before they ask a client to turn on the highly pressurized water.
Exactly. It's actually a remarkable display of restraint.
Yeah.
This raises an important question about their go-to-market strategy because EON makes a pledge on the record. They will not declare EON Delta a success. They will not claim victory over the general AIs until after they pass the independently locked exam.
Wow.
Their entire commercial future is staked on verifiable, independent validation, not hype.
Which is almost a shock to the system in the current tech ecosystem.
Yeah,
Where companies routinely announce products that are mostly just marketing videos.
very true.
So what does this all mean for the broader landscape of technology? When you step back and look at EON Delta, the Incident Atlas, and the digital clean room of the distillery, it really signals a massive paradigm shift.
It's a turning point.
We are sunsetting the era of the know-it-all AI. The parlor trick of asking a single chatbot to write a sonnet and then explain quantum mechanics is losing its novelty in the enterprise space.
Because it doesn't solve real industrial problems.
Right. We are entering the era of the hyper-specialized AI. And in this new era, the victor is no longer the company that deploys the largest internet web scraper. The victor is the entity that possesses the most deeply structured, mathematically rigorous, and legally cleared proprietary industry data. Depth is officially replacing breadth.
The generalists will always power our daily conveniences, but the truly high-stakes industrial workloads, the tasks where failure means catastrophe, those will inevitably belong to the specialists who have been steeped in the complex physical realities of their specific domains.
Which brings up a final, somewhat philosophical thought to leave you with today. Consider the origin point of EON Delta's entire intelligence, that data flywheel.
Right, going back to the start.
It does not begin by analyzing a list of days where an oil rig operated perfectly. The intelligence begins with public accident reports. It relies on the Incident Atlas, meticulously mapping out human errors, mechanical breakdowns, and catastrophic disasters.
Learning from the worst moments.
Yeah. If engineering the ultimate flawless AI requires feeding it a highly structured diet of things going terribly wrong in order to teach it how to eventually get things right, does that imply that the true untapped value of our proprietary human history isn't actually found in our documented successes, but is instead hidden deep inside our meticulously documented failures?
That's a profound way to look at it.
Something to ponder as the specialist AI revolution takes hold. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.